In this video, I'm going to show you why no one wants to date you and what to do to fix it if you find yourself in a place where your biological clock is ticking and you seriously want to meet your ideal mate and settle down to have your own family. I really want you to stay to the end of the video because I want to show you some things that I know will shift your perspective. When my clients actually understand these things, it really shifts how they approach what they're doing in the present moment, and that changes everything. So, in case we haven't met before, I'm Dr. Amber Joy Daniel, and I help single, high achieving women who have difficulty with personal relationships match, meet, and marry their ideal mate. So, if you want more videos that would empower you with the right skills and the knowledge about how to go from single to married, then I want you to subscribe and click the bell button as well so that you can be notified when I post new videos. And I'll be doing that 3 times every single week. So, really quick, before we begin this video, I want you to know that a few spots have opened up for my masterclass on the 5 proven steps to go from single to soulmate in 9 months or less. So if you want in on the masterclass, be sure to stay to the end to the next video so that you could get the announcement on how you can get in on that. So, why does nobody want to date you? The truth is, your professional success blueprint is inadvertently blocking your path to deep romantic connection. I know that that sounds like a chunk, so let me tell you what the 5 core reasons and solutions are. And in this video, we're going to do a deep dive on the first one. In the subsequent videos, we'll do one each until we cover them all. So, here are the 5 core reasons and their solutions. So, number one, you're overfunctioning in relationships. Don't worry. Don't worry. I'll clearly outline what that looks like and how you can fix it in this video. In addition to that, number two, there may be success patterns that you're following that were great in the office, but not so much in intimate relationships. Number three, connection versus achievement. That is, causing a little bit of a divide, a little bit of a disconnect. And once we could get that in balance, you will find that you don't have that problem anymore. Then there are vulnerability gaps. Those are easily fixed, but first you have to know how to identify them. And finally, timeline management, meaning the amount of time that it takes for you to understand and discern whether someone is committing or whether they're going to put you in the friend zone. That really determines how long you stay in a relationship, whether it's a year before you realize you're in the friend zone, 6 months before you realize you're in the friend zone, or in our world, in 17 to 24 days, a lady knows if this is going to be going forward or not. And those, of course, are the things that we would like to share with you so that you can have the same types of success that our clients are having. So I will deep dive into each of these in each of the subsequent videos. But the first one is the one we're going to tackle here. First, let me acknowledge how brave it is of you to even be asking this question. Let's talk about that question. Why is no one wanting to date you? First of all, I really want to acknowledge what you must be feeling. I know that most high achieving women, you're sitting here watching this and you're probably in your beautifully decorated apartment. Maybe it's a Sunday morning. We're probably getting close to some type of weekend or event or holiday or a long weekend. And you know that you'll be seeing so many people posting pictures of themselves and their loved ones, or you're walking in a park and they're holding hands, they're kissing, couples, 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 couples everywhere. And that might feel like a pandemic of couples. Let's unpack what may be happening with you. As a high achieving woman, you wake up in the morning, you put on your suit, you put on your power outfit, and you look in the mirror, you look great. You're crushing it at your job. You might even be an executive, but you come home to silence. And I mean, that's cruel, isn't it? That you make everything happen at work. You're a mover and a shaker. And yet when you come home, crickets. And I want you to understand that we do understand. I understand because I used to be there. I was a news girl and I wondered if my ladder of success was leaning against the wrong wall. And so here are a few scenarios that I navigated that you probably are navigating too. You're at your best friend's wedding, and yet another relative asks, "So, when is it going to be your turn?" You smile politely, but inside you're cringing. You're saying, "If somebody asks me that just one more time." But you're also probably thinking, "I don't know what I'm doing wrong." And that's probably because when you look at yourself and you look at others, you're probably more beautiful, you're probably more educated, probably more accomplished. And you could wonder at the end of the day, where has that gotten me? And so I want you to know that I see you. So you're killing it at work. You maybe even got another promotion. You just got another promotion. But at night, you get home and turn the key. That's a Whitney Houston song, right? There's nobody there, no one cares for me. Oh, she said, what's the sense in working hard to find your dreams when there's no one there to share them with? Could you tell me what does it mean? I mean, I like that song. I want to run to you, right? And there's just nobody for you to run to. Everybody runs to you at work. Everybody runs to you after work. You're the friend that everybody comes to, confides in. But then when you're looking for that special person to be there for you, somebody who's more than a friend, you've got nobody in that category. So I want you to know that we see you. I see you. You might be there swiping on dating apps, feeling like none of these matches even understand. They're not even going to fit into your world. I get it. Then there's this kind of scenario where, let's say it's your younger cousin got engaged, and you're genuinely happy for her, but you catch yourself wondering, what does she have that I don't? The truth is, you're carrying so much. The weight of being the strong one who doesn't need anyone. The fear that maybe your standards are too high. And let me assure you that your standards are not too high. The exhaustion, the emotional exhaustion of putting yourself out there again. And then the confusion of seemingly like less accomplished women find love so easily. And of course, there is the big ticking clock, right? It's the pressure of time passing, especially if you're wanting to have children and you hear your biological clock every day, every year going tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. You know, that's the professional woman's challenge. If you're a high achieving professional woman and you're single, this can really make things challenging because society tells you two conflicting stories, right? Number one, be independent, be successful, be strong. And on the other hand, don't be too intimidating, don't be too strong, you'll scare the men away. I mean, that could be confusing. What is a girl to do? So there's an additional layer as well. For those who are walking a path of faith, there's an additional layer to this pain because you're choosing a path of honor, right? You're honoring your values, you're staying celibate, you're waiting for the right person. And that could feel hard in today's hookup culture. You're just not looking for any relationship. You're seeking something sacred in a world that can sometimes feel as though they've forgotten what that means. So when you pass off casual relationships, some friends just may not understand. And so you're navigating not just the professional world, but you're also staying true to your spiritual journey, and that takes incredible strength. So, for all of these scenarios, whichever one you find yourself in, or whichever numbers of them, multiples of them you find yourself in, I want you to know that I see you. Now, you've mastered boardrooms, you've mastered business deals, and this could feel like a puzzle where the pieces, no matter how you rearrange them or how you try to put them together, they just don't fit. What I want you to know is that what is really happening here may surprise you. What do I mean? I'll explain. The truth is that single, successful, professional women like you're not failing at relationships. What is really happening is that you're working with an outdated map. So let me explain that. we explained the five main reasons why nobody wants to date you. And of course, that's being cross, but plain talk, bad manners, right? The first of those is overfunctioning in relationships. The second is having invisible barriers created by the success patterns that really work for you on the job, not so much in intimacy. Having a connection, achievement imbalance, having vulnerability gaps, and having difficulty with timeline management. So in this video, we're covering the first one, overfunctioning in relationships. So Amber, what does that look like, doctor? School me. Okay, let's do it. Now, when you are used to excelling at everything, can I get a witness? Anybody here? Excelling at everything. You're a go-getter, you're an achiever, you're just excellent at everything you do. It's natural to take charge in relationships too. So let's look at how that actually plays out because I don't want you to feel badly or think I don't want you to overthink it. So I'll give you an example of a senior executive who came to us frustrated. Let's call her Catherine. And she said, I do everything to move the relationship forward. She actually admitted that she even managed his career choices. And she really thought that she was being supportive, but what was really happening was she was preventing him from showing up for her. And the overfunctioning showed up in three critical ways. Number one, it's taking charge all the time of the emotional labor. All relationships carry a burden of emotional labor. And if you are the one carrying the most of it, all of it, or the lion's share of it, that's not good. So that is something that we would want to look at. Then managing the relationship's progression. If you find that you're always thinking, well, what's next? Where are we? Where are we going? And always kind of having to set the agenda and say, well, at this point we should be doing this, and this point we should be doing that, then you're overfunctioning. And then if you're the one solving all the practical problems, and many people who are just pragmatic, many single, successful, high achieving women who are pragmatic, this might be the greatest challenge because you're used to solving all the practical problems. So for Catherine, the shift that we made was that we let her step back from planning everything. So she started to create space for her date or her love interest to step up. And for example, if he mentioned going to dinner, she didn't belt out, well, this is a good place, or that is a good place, or we haven't been to this one. She didn't do that anymore. She responded with enthusiasm. Yes, that sounds wonderful. I'd love to. But she didn't take over the planning. And what happened as a result was he rose to the occasion. And you'll find that anywhere that a successful, high achieving woman would give the gentleman, and really, they are gentlemen, they won't overstep. Yes, I know. In a world that tells you that every male wants to mansplain, they want to do mansplaining to you, um, and that they're chauvinistic pigs and all of that. Really, if you find a gentleman, you really find a gentleman. And so you would find that if you give them the space, they would rise to the occasion. And he then made reservations at her favorite type of restaurant, which she'd mentioned casually some time before. And so you find that a gentleman would be taking cues of what you say. And if you give him the space to act, the space to express himself, then you'll find that you don't have to over plan, over give, over lead, over share. Okay, so it is really important if you find that you are doing any of the above, over giving, over sharing, over leading, taking charge too much, then we invite you and we really recommend the space creation model, which is a little bit of being mindful, a little bit of being self-aware, and that will require you to identify where you automatically take charge. And this could be tricky because it's automatic. We don't just recognize that, oops, but just by us mentioning it here today, think about it. Where do you automatically take charge? Then we want you to pause before jumping in. Just take a 5-second pause before jumping in. and allow silence in your conversations. That's number three. A lot of people are uncomfortable with silence. They feel that they must jump in to say something every time that, there's a lull in the conversation. Not necessary. And I'll be explaining in other videos why that is actually what you do want because of how your vagus nerve works. So let small problems exist without solving them. That could be very counterintuitive for a high achieving woman, a successful woman who's accustomed to getting things done. But in the relationship, you have to allow small problems to exist without solving them so that both of you have space to act. This reminds me of another story. One of our clients said the hardest thing for her was when he was struggling with a work decision, and especially for people in the coaching space, leadership, mentoring space, this is hard to not give advice. Sometimes my husband says, "Okay, babe, I'm not one of your clients," and he doesn't want in that moment to be coached. He just wants a sympathetic ear. And so instead of giving him step by step advice like she normally would, or asking those leading questions, sometimes you're not giving the advice, but you're leading the person to the questions that will help them sometimes determine what they want in their own hearts. There's a way to just back off of that a little bit. And he said later that that moment, that client, she shared that his heart in that moment, that she trusted him to just use his own capability to figure it out, but at the same time to just emotionally be there for him was a pivotal point where he could feel himself beginning to fall more deeply in love with her and thinking, I could do this. I could do this with her. And that is what we want. So let's geek out. Let's geek out on the neuroscience of this and a little bit of the attachment theory of this so that we can understand why overfunctioning in relationships happens and how we could cut it from the root. A lot of times we medicate the shoot and the fruit of things and we don't get to the root. And the neuroscience is where the root of this is. The attachment theory is where the root of this is. And you'll find that the neuroscience and the attachment theory that we'll cover here for overfunctioning in relationships, these two replay over and over and over in all of the other videos as the main reasons why nobody wants to date you. And that is a problem that is very solvable. So let's get to it. So your brain's executive function, that's the same executive function that makes you excellent at your job, excellent and efficient at your church or at the Rotary or the sorority or where soroptimists or wherever you serve well, wherever you are stellar and wherever you bring it, that same neural processing can actually interfere with romantic bonding. When you are in constant fix it, work mode, your body produces higher levels of cortisol and lower levels of oxytocin, which is the bonding hormone. And all of us who are go-getters, we know and understand that, right? It's go, 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 go. We're getting things done, we're being efficient, and that is cortisol, 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 not oxytocin. And so let's move to attachment theory now. Many successful women developed a competent attachment style. And I'll be talking about communication in this style because it's a communication for rapport, it's communication for team building, it's a communication for getting things done. And women, highly successful, high achieving women, we form a type of hybrid of secure attachment and avoidant attachment, that type of hybrid pattern where we excel at independence but struggle with interdependence. And depending on how you were socialized as a child, depending on the type of schools that you went to, depending on how the education system worked, depending on how you worked well in your field, if there was a lot of teamwork and collaboration, that interdependence may have been fostered. If you're, say, an attorney and you worked in a team from the get-go, that mitigates that competent avoidant pattern. But if, let's say, you are an attorney, but all of your work has been alone, then you'd find that there is more of a competent avoidant pattern, and there is that excelling in independence but struggle with interdependence. And so, we hear so many clients say they're just great at problem solving. And unwittingly, without realizing, what is happening is that they're blocking the natural development of secure attachment behavior. So you may be unwittingly, literally preventing the neurochemical bonding process because you never sit still long enough or relax long enough for oxytocin to get to be developed. So, how do we bring a shift with this? Well, we need to move from constant executive function engagement. We need to disconnect that a little bit at a time and then shift into intentional activation of the social engagement system. And there's so many things that you could do to trigger your brain that I'm not working now, I'm relaxing now. What you wear, um, your perfume, how you wear your hair, whether you have a glass of wine or you have a cup of tea, just different things like that could begin to signal to your brain. The colors you wear could begin to signal to your brain we're intentionally activating social engagement. So you give yourself a chance for the oxytocin to begin to flow. So let me give you a practical exercise. This is how we can reset your nervous system. Practice the 5 second pause that I talked about a little while ago before jumping into problem solve. And sometimes it can be tricky to spot it, but a great teeny bopper movie that is good to show how this works is John Tucker Must Die. So if you could take on a little bit of teeny bopper, teenage high school setting type of movie, take a look at John Tucker Must Die, where the chief, the protagonist, it's a really, if we were to take an adult look at it, I'm just registering this now. Her mom, let me not give away the story, but it's actually teeny bopperish, but look for the adult mother, the adult framing there of that scenario, and then look at the daughter and how she's navigating the move and how she's navigating her teen years. And she's got some friends who they always get dates and they're the popular girls and they always with the guys, and they're telling her, shush, shush, in right after he says something and you want to jump in with an answer, just wait 5 seconds and you'll see how what happens as she does this. So I digress. But John Tucker Must Die, and you'll have a little laugh, release a little bit of giggly, girly hormones while you do. So the second thing that you're to do after you do the 5 second pause is to notice what happens within you when you let others lead. If you were to let a gentleman lead, and you can start small in the office, allow them to open the door for you, allow them to lead in the conversation. And it's not that you're giving away your power or anything like that. You're just navigating a feminine space, navigating your power a little differently. Notice your body's sensations when others lead, when you allow others to lead. And we'll get into that in like the third video after this one because there's some very deep stirrings why people are uncomfortable with that. We want to bring that discomfort to your awareness and we want to begin to identify why you feel uncomfortable with that. So, number 3 is to track your cortisol responses in dating scenarios. Do you feel like fight or flight? He's not saying anything. I need to say something. I need to say something. Or are you evaluating, ready to respond before he even finishes? No, you have to allow. First of all, just notice. Let's just track your cortisol responses in dating scenarios. Number 4 is to create space for co-regulation. And I'll explain that a little bit more. Co-regulation is where each of you can feed rest off of each other so that you're taking calming cues from him and he's taking calming cues from you. That's co-regulation. It's a give and take. A baby does this with a mommy a lot. They don't always know how to respond to certain stimuli, and they work on how they respond based on how they see us respond. And so it does sometimes involve a little bit of mirroring, a little bit of intentional calming. If the other person is maybe getting a little too worked up, you may have to begin the co-regulation. But if the person is in a comfortable space, just give and take it from each other. I know that some people listening, a lady, I can see a lady listening and she's thinking, give and take from each other. I don't know. I don't know. Try it. It's it's probably going to be a little more rewarding than you imagined. All right. And then we have success-driven attachment adaptations. I'll talk about that a little bit more as well. It could very well be that because of the way that you were socialized, that success means that you have to be on top of it all. And by doing that, you have releases um, in your brain that says you're doing great, you're doing great. You get those little dopamine and testosterone hits because you are in control and you are successful and you're leading and you're taking charge. We may need to just adapt the way that your reward systems work. So that's where we're going to wrap up on this number one, which is taking too much charge, taking too much responsibility, taking too much lead in the relationships. That's a number one reason why nobody wants to date you. And it's very fixable, very solvable. So if you want to learn more skills so that you could step into your authentic personhood, vulnerability, if you want to invite your dates to take the journey of connection and commitment with you beyond dinner, beyond texting, beyond a dating app, but for a lifetime of love, a lifetime of happiness, a lifetime of shared dreams and goals and shared vision, then if you want to learn the techniques to help you do this properly and get the results that will get you from single to married, then you want to join in on my free masterclass that teaches you how to go from single to soulmate in 5 steps. And in this masterclass, you will learn the exact same processes that all my students learned. And that's the exact same process that I used to take myself from single to married in 6 months. 6 months is how long it took us. We have people in our program who it takes them even shorter than that. Others, it takes 9 months to a year. So depending on who you are and how you are wired, this method will work for you. They're just tweaks based on what you're comfortable with regards to time. So I'm going to show you how to simplify your approach to dating so that you stop being friend zoned or you stop talking to a guy for months and months and months, thinking that things are going somewhere, only to be dumped or let down easy. Her heart is on the line. One of the saddest songs, right? Let her down easy, and you grow up in time. All right, so um, when you thought that he'd be about to propose, and instead you get the seer, no, we want to put an end to that. So I'll also share why some of the approaches you've been using to attract a mate have so far not quite been working for you. And I want to also give you some key mindset shifts to take away with you so that you can take the first steps to completely changing your approach. So if this masterclass sounds good to you, you can click the link in the comments or in the question box below the video. And if you're looking for a free guide to help you communicate for connection, very, very important, not for rapport, to communicate for connection, especially as you begin to navigate this whole new world of dating so that you don't get friend zoned and you don't be talking to a guy for months only to realize it's not going anywhere, which, by the way, is a very difficult situation to be in. then he just ghosts you or won't return your calls, to ensure that you don't waste any more precious time with guys who only want to date, or they only want the cookie, or they only want to assuage their own feelings of loneliness without ever committing to you. Then you'd want to get that guide. So you'd want to download the guide, the free guide on how to communicate for connection, so that he chases. He connects, he chases, he commits in 90 days or less. And you'll get that by clicking the link in the description box below as well. And of course, if you're looking for community, sometimes it can be lonely doing this as a successful woman or a high achieving woman, then there is a community for you where you can get support. Or if you're wanting to ask your questions and you want a place where you can actually get good answers to your questions, then you can join me in my free Facebook group where you can post your questions and get good advice from other members of the community or myself. And you can join the community as well in the link that's also below the video in the comments. So in the meantime, I do want to hear from you. Share with me what you found most eye-opening, most inspiring, most insightful about the video. Leave a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. In the meantime, if you like what I shared in the video and you found it helpful, go ahead and like it. Subscribe to the channel for more content like this, And for now, I'd leave you with these two other videos that are number 2 and number 3 in the reasons why no one wants to date you. And they'll equip you with more skills and more knowledge to be able to go from single to married, to go from not dating to dating efficiently and effectively, and to get you from where you are to where you want to be in life and destiny. For now, though, I'll see you in the next video.